You see efforts there to get, All right, that was Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, the incumbent governor of Anambra State, speaking to gentlemen of the press after casting his ballot. Dr. Marley, you were going to make your contribution, earlier on, and, what happened. I mean, the scenario we just saw, in Anambra play out.
Yes, I was not particularly happy that the governor has to storm the polling unit with such large number of aides, security agents, and so on, and which made the polling unit very chaotic. Even if they were to escort him there, he was supposed to walk into the polling area quietly alone, cast his vote, and then probably grant the interview somewhere outside the polling area. You see, in this country we should learn, we should take positive things from the Americans and from the Western world. You hardly see dignitaries on the day of election accorded the type of would I call respect, or the kind of privilege that our VIPs are being accorded the way it has happened. And under this chaotic situation, a lot of manipulation, a lot of things can happen, because you could see how rowdy and how disorganized the entire polling area was because of the way and manner the governor stormed the place. I even saw persons with blue vest and face cap in large numbers, which I believe I couldn't read what was written on those vests. Mm-hmm. So
I think there may be observers. I don't know. Nick, we're not sure.
you can't tell, but I think the people closest, to him, don't look like observers to me, given the dark glasses they are wearing. And they look to me more like bodyguards. And like I said, on election day, you are not supposed to be accompanied by a bodyguard.
Let's hear from Dr. Dauda Garba, who is on ground in Awka. Dr. Garba.
Hello, yes. Hello, yes.
Hello, Dr. Garba. Can you hear me?
Ellie?
You're on ground in Awka. I'm sure you must have watched the scene in Aguata where the incumbent governor just voted. What are your thoughts about, what played out?
He's voting from his own area, and expectedly, given the role of identity to voting generally in Nigeria, you want to say that he's expected to have that place as his strongest hold. So I can understand that, but as already discussed, within the context of what is contained in the Electoral Act and in the kind of procedures that we are supposed to undergo in an exercise of this nature, one wouldn't expect that somebody follows him to where he was going to cast his ballot. The same thing applies to having to publicly show where he it on in that particular ballot paper. So for me, that is a violation. At some point, I think in the course of trying to reform our electoral system, there should be consequences for such behavior. And if it is already known, if you ask me, I won't shy away from recommending that such ballots should be voided, so that it becomes something of less one.
Thank you. Just to say that Ambassador Jacob Pele will be joining us once we have him. Of course, he's a CEO TAF Africa. He will be joining us once we have him on air. Let's come back to the studio. We've said that Anambra's politics is very, very peculiar. And we know that between 1999 and 2007, the state recorded 5 governors under very wonderful, circumstances. But my question will be, I'll start with Dr. Abdulrazak. What makes Anambra's political history so unpredictable and probably volatile?
I think if you look at it from the memory lane, historically, you will notice that there's this power struggle between the PDP and the acclaimed ABGA political party that is indigenous to the people of Anambra. Looking at it from the point of view that Dame Ojukwu is seen as a very influential figure, and if you consider this, the people in Anambra are now seeing it that Anambra holds the important position in the politics of that region as far as ABGA is concerned. So in 1999, it started with Yes, you notice he came in under the platform of the PDP. But after that, subsequently, there is a Chris Ngige, and then the Obi that challenged the position in the court of law, and then he won. So, consequently, ABGA have been maintaining this position. And with the wave of defection that we are seeing in the political landscape in Nigeria now, it's only Anambra that is holding that ABGA as their own stronghold. So this has made this situation to become more complex political-wise. And going by this, I think the position of ABGA now will be that this is the traditional hold of ABGA, and they want to do everything possible by law to ensure that they cling to the power, and then the state remain formidable in terms of politics.
Thank you. Nick, earlier you touched on, key issues, the issue of godfatherism and, the other ones. But let's look at godfatherism in the whole of this. Between 2003 and 2006, we noticed the face-off between Chris Ngige and
the Uber brothers.
Exactly. And then, of course, we know the dangers that pose to the whole democratic system. So my question will be, in this election, do you think we've moved past that goalpost?
Well, I think we are still confronted with it. Like I had earlier said, that the politics of that state had been framed by godfatherism right from the period of the PDP when Ngige was governor, and his fate was being determined by his godfather. And when he tried to be strong-headed, there were consequences. And much later, when also the Ojukwu's myth re-emerged, which he lost, the losses that lost her earlier on, it re-emerged, and you could see the others, even under the auspices of ABGA, were determining who was going to be governor, even under ABGA. In fact, much later, even the chairman of ABGA became so influential that he determined who became governor as well. And up till now, he still commands that influence under the auspices of ABGA because of his proximity to late Ojukwu and the family. So we can see that influence has permeated, and it still defines the politics of that state. And I think that the legatees of the Ojukwu are determined to perpetrate or to perpetuate that myth, and the myth that Anambra or Ndi Anambra is an ABGA stronghold, and it has to remain one, even if they would align with some other party at the center. But the intention is to maintain that fidelity, that fealty to Abuja. I think that has defined the politics, and it may also play a great role in the outcome that we will see subsequently. And but you see, there were things that the incumbent governor said, which also have immediate consequences for this election. And I hope also that INEC is taking note of some of the pronouncements being issued by the politicians, the contestants, because he expressed fears that some people are likely going to interfere with the collation process. And even though politicians, from my small experience with them, you take anything they tell you with not just a pinch of salt, but a bucket full of it. But in spite of that, INEC also needs to take this into consideration to make sure that all the results that are entered into from EC8A in this election are uploaded on the IRF. It's important because when you do that, it makes it impossible for anyone to interfere with the collation process. And it gives more credibility to the outcome of that election. And people will be looking forward to that. And if you allow anything to interfere with the process, then someone will say thereafter that, but I said it, that this is what they intend to do. And since the incumbent is contesting on a platform other than the party at the center, it now makes it even more incumbent on INEC to be very vigilant and to ensure that all results are uploaded on the IRF real time at the end of this election. Thankfully, from what we have seen, the elections have been generally peaceful and they started on time. And when elections start on time, it means there is less possibility of violence or interfering with the process. It means that collation at the level of the ward level will start in good time. But it also means that you cannot upload the results from EC8A in time. And even if you have network challenges, you can move within the vicinity of the polling unit and ensure that you upload the results. So
you talked about the IREV, and
yes,
we know the history, surrounding the IREV and public trust and confidence and,
yes, and
all that.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, how then do we build, that public trust, for what is uploaded, on the portal?
The only way we can build that public trust is to make sure that that is done, and that subsequently, since the Supreme Court said it is not a non-law, that electronic transmission of results are made mandatory. And we also make sure that apart from it being made mandatory, that glitches do not attend the transmission, because it's one thing to make it mandatory and another one, another thing to make it work. So there are two things. You make sure that by law, transmission of results, is provided for. And secondly, you put in place the infrastructure, the architecture that will make sure that that transmission takes place and in real time. So this, for me, are very important.
Dr. Male?
Yes, I've listened to my colleague. Anambra is a melting pot of Southeast politics. One thing that have not been mentioned today is that the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who is also a very important factor, he is from Anambra State. In fact, he was a former governor. So what makes this election very interesting is that our Anambra politics very interesting is the number of political gladiators that are from Anambra State. Peter Obi performed very well in the 2023 election and is from Anambra State. We have all the billionaires, as Claire has put them, they are all from Anambra State. So that's what makes Anambra very, very interesting. The power blocks within the states are are almost equally matched. And that is why Anambra has always been a very, very contentious state when it comes to election. And from 1999, within the Fourth Republic, you can see the trend where incumbent governors are disrespected, disregarded, and most times struggle for their survival. We saw what happened even when Peter Obi was governor, how he barely survived to get another term. We saw how even events unfolded that the first female governor was sworn in, Virgia Tiaba, was sworn in Anambra. So Anambra politics has been very, 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 very turbulent. Let me hold you on that. Yeah. Please let me hold you on that. Dr. Garba will soon be leaving us. So let me just quickly, take a few questions, of course, from him. Dr. Garba, are you with us?
I am with you.
With TAF Africa. And, so far, how historic has it been in terms of, in reality?
Can you come back?
Africa, with respect to the voting opportunities being provided for people with various disabilities. What's your assessment so far? Because we understand, we understand that, facilities are provided based on the number of people living with, the various disabilities in the different polling units or areas. So what have you seen? Have you heard, what have your men told you? What reports are you getting about that?
That I went around a couple of polling units across Oka South, and not even in a place did I see any provisions meant for persons with disability. They might exist. Maybe I didn't notice that clearly, but personally I did not see. And this was also what we noted in our CVR report, that there were clearly no provisions we saw that were made for people who came in to do continuous voter registration. And since morning, we've had a couple of visits across the local government. I have also not seen. And interestingly, in the field, I came across Senator Jake Epeletu. We didn't have time to maybe stand and have a conversation as to whether those things existed, but I didn't see.
So far, just before we let you go, do you think that we're seeing some form of political maturity, coming out from what's happening in Anambra?
This was my takeoff point in my first statement, that if you were to compare the situation to what it were, the nature of the charged atmosphere in 2021, it is, easy to conclude that today's exercise was far better than what had happened. And also in the run-up to the elections, this particular one was far better. But this is not to say that, even as the governor has acknowledged, there were a few instances of you wanting to think that something unusual or untoward is happening. The two areas I visited in Nibo Town Hall polling unit, as well as the one at Nibo Maternity Health Center. So I think that we can always build on the successes recorded with this particular one and hope that we get it right in the way we organize our elections.
Take one more question from you before I let you go, but we'd like to, listen to these post-vote reactions from APC and Boots, just before I get back to you.
You have to qualify to vote and be voted for. And this is just a proof that actually I'm qualified to be voted for. And then it feels good to be part of a process that will move this state forward. Not because I'm the one running as a candidate of APC, but because I'm an Anambra citizen with a full right to vote and be voted for. So I'm happy to be here to vote.
Did you witness any challenge in terms of voting or trying to get yourself in any challenges, or what do you think INEC should do in improving this exercise moving forward?
Well, you see, when you're a candidate, you want to vote, they are called this kind of celebrative treatment. But from what I've been hearing from here and there will be hitches, small problem here and there. There will be security challenges here and there. But loudly, there have been vote buying. And then that has become the biggest menace that actually will shunt this country to a point of standstill. But it will come to a point that when people get opportunity to be in power, they don't have to do anything.
Can you be specific?
Right, so can you just tell us your observation, what you observe now you're on the field?
Well, my observation is what I'm trying to tell you now. From one or two things, and then one or two places my people have visited, and then here in my community, complaints here and there. Right now, there are many things that are going up, issue of vote buying, and maybe some of you would have noticed it. And it is collective treasury that is being looted and shared back to people to get back the mandate. So it is a very bad thing, and everybody should condemn it. But apart from that...
So what do you think should be done right now?
Can you tell us why
what do you think should be done right now?
What should be done right is for security agents to actually live up to the challenges. And then if they do, they can curb it. And if they do, it will make a lot of difference. And then people will be able to stand up, will be able to wake up and do the things they should do when given mandate to. And that's actually the right thing to be done.
You have the vote buying location, to be specific, yes. Where do you think it's happening? Then who do you think is susceptible to the vote SJ? Can you be specific?
It can't be just who, it's about the party.
I thank God for that.
Okay, so what about logistics? What can you say about the way INEC has conducted this election?
They are trying their best, there's improvement. But the area I want them to work seriously on is the issue of vote buying. Because I heard that some other areas, so many voters have been induced and giving money. So INEC should try to disqualify any candidates whose agent is caught sharing money or buying votes. That's the fastest means of stopping vote buying in Nigeria. And if INEC can do this, 2027 general election will be acceptable by the people. And if INEC can conduct free and fair election in Nigeria, insecurity will be a thing of the past, because I believe that people are angered in the electoral processes. Their candidates are not announced winner. Maybe somebody is rigged in. Masses will be angry. They'll start fighting the government, and it will be increasing insecurity in Nigeria. So INEC should try their best to ensure that there's free and fair election in Nigeria. That's the fastest means, I believe, of stopping the insecurity in Nigeria.
So now, what's your expectation so far? The process has not ended. What's your expectation in the entire Anambra election?
I believe it will be free and fair, even though there is low voter turnout. People are not here. Many people are not here, as compared to what happened here during the presidential election, when many people voted for P2. There was a massive crowd here. You can see few people are here. Not minded that there were new people that were registered newly. Many people are not here. So, and the reason is that INEC is not doing well in Nigeria. INEC should help us, especially we young candidates that are coming up. If all these big men are buying votes, there is no hope for people like us who are coming up as new politicians.
Your name again?
My name is Okeke Chika Jerry, governorship candidate of the Party.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, that was Jerry Okeke, the governorship candidate of the Boots Party. Earlier on, you also watched the governorship candidate of the APC, Nicholas Ukachukwu. Both of them, of course, expressing their views about the conduct of the election. And I'd like to again return to Oka Studios, where Dr. Garba is waiting. Dr. Garba, you must have listened to the two candidates, expressing their views about, the challenges of how the elections went. But from your perspective, from your unbiased lenses, what issues do you think may likely impact on the outcome of this election?
I remember at the time we released our background paper, I remember somebody getting across to me to say that in the conversation about the elections, we are not hearing the party's manifesto as to if you play in politics of no issues, how are you going to hear a conversation about manifesto? And that is increasingly what Nigeria is becoming. And I like the point underscored by one of the candidates when he talked about vote buying. And when I mentioned the untoward practices I saw in Nibo area, that's actually what I referenced. And sometimes it is such organized that if you don't look very well and you've not been into this business for a long time, you may think that things are going on well. The one that embarrasses me, or that embarrassed me the most, was the one by the Nibo around the community town hall, where instead of having queues outside, queues were actually coming from inside a beer parlor. And it happened there. And also when it got to the health center, you also saw this openly, people were doing that. And I remember engaging one of the police officers, especially at the community town hall center. Well, my responsibility here is to provide security. And I don't have the powers to move beyond that. So you can do whatever you want to do, but when you are overstepping your boundary in terms of causing chaos in this environment, I am expected to act. Of course, it's only in Nigeria somebody wears uniform as a security officer. You see things that are going on towards, you say because this is my boundary, I cannot act on those things. The moment you wear uniform as a security officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is expected that anywhere you find crime taking place, you should act in a decisive manner. So it is true that vote buying has become the biggest challenge that we now face in our elections. And also accompanying that is issues of voter apathy. I think if we do more in trying to reform this area, we possibly might be heading to where we want our system to be, and also do a little bit of getting the technology to work for us, because we've done quite a lot. Having participated in election observation outside the shores of this country, a lot of African countries are there that are not even done half of what we have done, trying to improve our elections. But how come that the more we reform, the more things get out of hands? And what I have seen is that election management body in Nigeria only beats politicians once. The moment they beat them in this election, next one you can be sure that they would have met the standards and even overtake INEC. Thank you.
Just before you go, so what will be now your recommendations, and to whom specifically? Because we have said, Nick here has said, look, we should not always, point accusing fingers, at just one person, but we should look at the collective, the whole process, people involved in all the processes. But from your perspective, you are the unbiased, observer. What would be your recommendations, after today?
That somebody is standing and ready to pay for your votes is an indication that your votes indeed count. nobody will pay for nothing. So in that context, let's just be ready to address this issue of vote buying. And when they offer their money, tell them no. In Ondo, I saw people who were not even interested in even going to vote. And so I think as citizens, we need to ask ourselves that we need not leave the political class to go with our chances of developing our country. And because in those days, the chances are that the youth had other opportunities, had other things to do. They jackpot from the country. But today, immigration rules are a bit tightening against us. And the political class, what they should watch out for is the fact that when the system is shrinking against going out of the country, especially for those who want to avoid the state and say, oh, let's just leave the country for them. Now you no longer find time to leave. And as youth, the next stage is going to be that an implosion. Because if you cannot get what you want, the opportunities you want in your country, and now you cannot leave to go and it elsewhere, the next stage is that you have to turn in and engage the system. And this is where I think that the political class should watch it. And let's understand that we can collectively build a country that can survive all of us. There might not be enough to survive the greed of all of us, but there is much more we have to survive our needs. And that is the context I think that we should push the opportunities for our youth. The country really has a huge young population. If something is not done, and very soon, we might just be sitting on a time bomb that can consume all of us. So, respectively, civil society, those in the political class, those in security sector, all of us, let's sit back and do our own, fix our own side of the problems so that we can have a country we'll all be proud to call our own. Thank you.
Dr. Dauda Garba, Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, West Africa, joining us for this conversation on Anambra Decides from our Oka studios. We do appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time. All right, you know, gentlemen, they say when my people pick up a habit, it endures. It's like this issue of money politics. I don't know how, you know, it has, I don't even know what to say about it, because it's been the talk of conversations, you know, even before now, from Edo to Ondo to all the elections and all that. Dr. Omai, you were talking about this. How can this be nipped in the bud?
Well, it's a very Herculean...
How can it be checked?
It's a very Herculean tax. It has, unfortunately, it has become part of our political culture. It is not only money. People share rice, people share wrapper, people share Maggi, and several other things. And once Nigerians hear about election, the first thing that goes into their mind, oh, it's another period of boom. Okay,
I'm sorry, Doctor. I'm sorry, Dr. Miley. I'm sorry. I'll come back to you. Our correspondent Benson is in Oko. Benson, where are you?
We are here in Oko.
Okay. Okay. So what?
Unit 006, and the election is going on smoothly in this particular center. The people are all coming out maybe to beat the deadline, because by 2:30 they are going to stop anybody from joining the queue. But for those who are on queue, they are going to allow them to cast their ballot. Meanwhile, the security operatives are fully on ground, maintaining peace and order in this particular zone. Then the INEC officials are fully on ground. We want to inquire if the election, the beavers and other equipment are working functionally, and we observed that they are all functionally operating. Meanwhile, the streets are all calm. Everybody are looking forward to when the election is going to end. That is the situation in this particular state, place, Central School, Oko.
All right, Benson, thank you. So I'll return to you shortly, but let's get back to the studio. And, Dr. Mali, I will return to you. Let me quickly introduce. Earlier on, I said Ambassador Jekepele will be joining us. If he's around, I think I'll quickly introduce him now. Ambassador Jekepele. Yes, that's Ambassador Jekepele.
Yeah, am I?
Yes, thank you. CEO TAF Africa is joining us via Zoom. He's in Oka. Where specifically are you in Oka?
I'm in the hall where we have just delivered a joint preliminary report of the election. The cohort of all European Union partners who are involved in the election, whether it's election security, election inclusion, election data management, report tabulation, accessibility, and all strands of the election. But interesting development has happened since this whole election started. We noticed the opening of the election, about 47–50% of deployment by INEC did today. Some of the polling units that I have visited, INEC opened at 7:07, 7 minutes past 7. Security presence at 6:49. So these are interesting developments. There are also some places that we have seen some not too serious security breaches. We saw that the sitting governor voted a little bit later. Anambra people are relatively peaceful. We haven't seen much of security concern. But we've also seen that in terms of inclusion, that we're still struggling with some things. Accessibility, deployment of electoral material. But I think it's important to highlight very interesting developments. How INEC, the current INEC chairman, is involved in ensuring inclusivity. Surprisingly, though not too surprising, he has been on phone with me, sending me reports that he is getting from his situation room of participation of persons with disability. We have talked, and he has expressed his passion for inclusion. And that's a very interesting scenario. And his decision that he's really going to work with TAF Africa to ensure inclusivity in the electoral process. We did also talk about.
But what are you? Yes, what are you hearing at the moment from your observers that are out there, on the field? Because from reports that we've gathered so far, the historic partnership that you've had, to deploy some of these, very fragile, sophisticated, instruments to your members. We've not heard reports of where such have been deployed. Is that what you are seeing? Is that what you are reading?
No. I'll tell you, we deployed 150 observers, everyone present, everyone working. We have received 134 reports from these observers. Now you have to understand the strategic deployment we are, we're following. And that strategic deployment is to look at INEC data, analyze with our data to agree where there are presence of persons with disability. We don't deploy everywhere because it will be a waste of manpower, a waste of resources. So we deploy guided by data science. So the data says, for instance, in TU, PU10 in one of the primary school community. We saw that in our data that there's only one person with albinism. And we informed INEC, and INEC indeed deployed the magnifying glasses there, even before we escalate that. So that's a good development, and that shows you the trend of our deployment. So if you go to look for us where there are no persons with disability, you will not see us.
That's wonderful.
So our deployment is, our deployment is scientific. It is working. We are on all the 3 senatorial zones. Not only that, we have 16 roving media inclusion observers. They are seeing to say, where are these media? Are they talking to persons with disability? And I can tell you that many media houses, in your tradition, you don't like to mention the name of other media houses on your channel.
That's not true. That's not true, Ambassador Jake. That's not true. We give credit.
My darling sister, you're in trouble. I'll mention name. Channel at 7 a.m. took me on. I was the first guest on their live presentation. News Central, Galaxy TV, the local television station, the local NTA station with its grassroots outreach have taken us on. So there is that 60% improvement in terms of inclusive media. And thank God for people like you that have been a champion of inclusive media. And of course, your Director General, who I can describe as a dear friend of the community of persons with disability.
Jake, thank you.
So in terms of...
Jake, thank you. Jake, thank you for the clarification about, the deployment of instruments for your members. That's quite, welcoming. Now we know that it's not as if, the partnership has not worked. It's been historic indeed. But again, let's...
I think if you give me 30 seconds, me 30 seconds, let me talk about the historic deployment of 25 language interpreters, sign language interpreters, which INEC approved at the dying minute. That partnership has given us incredible result because we stationed these sign language interpreters and we discovered that many of them didn't have sign language interpreters. And so they were escorted, they signed for them and signed them out. So it's an interesting development, an innovation that we want to continue to highlight, But if you permit me, there's an interesting personality that you guys need to hear from. And that's the Vice Chairman of PAF Africa Board, who happens to be a former national commissioner in INEC. And that's Amina Zakari. Amina Zakari is on this trip with us as the Vice Chairman of the Board of PAF Africa.
Ambassador
that shows
Jake,
you how inclusive and diverse.
Ambassador Jake, we will charge you for some commercials. Anyway,
there is no commercials here.
Just hold on.
Yes, but this is an interesting personality that you guys need to also hear from. Taking into cognizance the huge experience he's bringing to inclusion.
No, wonderful. Thank you. Jake, remember also that we've heard you, we've had a conversation with you on a national network, consecutively, even just before this election. So it's not as if you mentioned other stations. NTA Network has had a conversation with you on Good Morning Nigeria. Yes, even before now. And you raised the issue. Remember.
That's a far cry.
Yes, remember.
That's a far cry from what NTA had done. I can tell you this for free, that if I give glory to God for what he has done in my life and the exposure and visibility I have received, I allow NTA to share in that glory, because I don't think what would have happened to the project that I've done without NTA.
Yes.
So many of your colleagues were the ones that encouraged me to start the foundation. And look where we are today.
Beautiful.
So you can't dismiss You can't dismiss NTA.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to underscore that. But again, just to take out two issues that you raised, outcome of our last conversation on, our sister program, Good Morning Nigeria. You raised two issues, and we discussed it extensively. But the issues have also come out to play today's election. The issue of money bag, money politics, if you remember, if you recall.
Yes.
What are your
Yes.
views? What are your views? What do you think about what has played out? Quickly, before I come back to the studio.
Yeah, definitely we're seeing that play out openly. There are reports of vote buying. There are reports of vote inducement. There are reports of POS being in the polling unit where you go and vote, they transfer to you. There are reports of cash, and these reports are verifiable. They've been laid out by a number of voters. So I am very sure when I was talking to, when we were discussing this in Good Morning Nigeria, one of our guests, my good friend Chris, was literally arguing that such thing will not happen. I wish he is here today. It has happened. I talked about voter apathy, and Claire, voter apathy has played out. I'm not surprised. There are some polling units where previous election we had like 1,000 people, 2,000 people. Today we have less than 500 people. So people are at home. Let me also tell you one incident that will interest you: the vehicular movement, the restriction, the impact it has on election like this. Of course, some people just decided to stay at home. The issue of voter card, I have a friend of mine who called me a few minutes, says, I didn't vote because they didn't give me my voter card. So these are some of the issues that are playing out that INEC needs to immediately arrest, But there are issues of data validation, which is something that I will take on with many of my friends, Commissioner Akunle, Commissioner May, and a couple of them. These are some of the things that we need to really look at so that we can arrest the situation in the forthcoming election. I don't like to talk about problems only if I don't have solution. And the solution is that we need to do more. We should stop paying lip service to inclusion.
Okay, Jake.
Any electoral process, go ahead.
Jake, I know I will come back to you. Please just hold your thoughts, because I actually took the liberty that Dr. Omali was here in the studio, or rather is here in the studio with me. Let me allow him to finish his thought, because he was also making, his own analysis, about the use of money in an electoral process, which, needs to be checked. Dr. Mali.
Yes, as I was saying, it's not physical cash. I just heard from Jake now that even POS terminals have been deployed. I'm just hearing that.
Nick, are you there?
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
So I'm just hearing that.
I'm coming to that.
I'm just hearing that for the fact that POS now is now being used. Okay, on the more serious note, it's really very unfortunate. Like I said, it's not just cash, even wrappers, vegetable oil, spaghetti, and several are being shared to voters. And it is not, the issue of voters' inducement is not just here. In the American election, we had that Trump voted, Elon Musk voted millions of dollars to the campaign of Donald Trump, though it's not directly to induce voters the way we do it in Nigeria. Elections are very expensive. What is wrong, I think some of those campaign funds are supposed to be meant to do publicity, to educate voters and so on. So elections are very